is so spot on. It's not what he sounds like, but that was
bang
a
on.
spot on impersonation. Very impressed. Oh, yeah, we just got one other. Lieutenant Dan has tweeted to say, literally just got home from work. But there you go, that's exciting.
Thanks for sharing, Dan.
More on this later on.
Never heard of him myself, is he?
No, I've never heard of him at all.
I don't know.
We're gonna play a promo from a very good friend of ours who's just started a new show with Seclo Sounds. And if you haven't listened already, you need to listen to the Twilly Soft Touch Show.
That's enough of that. I'm John Twilly, and every Tuesday night at 9 o'clock on Seclo Sounds, I'll be bringing you Soft Touch. We get to the heart of love, dating and relationships in Milton Keynes. With dating tips, real life stories and the best music from the 80s right through to today. This is one relationship you won't want to ditch. Soft Touch, Tuesdays at 9 p.m. on Seclo Sounds, community radio for Milton Keynes.
I'm going on that.
Yeah, I'm definitely listening to that. Dan, do you hear that? I think that show's tailor-made for you, Chief. I got to be honest.
You're listening to...
Yeah, anyway. Well, it was good to do that. I'll do it later.
Listen, tell us later.
Okay. I would say this is our first opportunity to talk about football, but because this is the only game we've got this side of the moon, this is the only time we've got to talk about football. Or at least current football. So, we had a game on Saturday against the mighty Bristol City. Hans?
I'm lacking a hand, unfortunately.
No, I was working.
I was there.
Made a ton of money. Happy as Larry
What are you
am.
doing there?
Modders, if you can tweet in and let us know whether you were there or
Well,
not.
I can tell you know he wasn't.
Yeah, fair enough. Yes, so I'm probably just going to have to sit and talk about it, and you're going to have to ask me questions. I think. What did you hear? What did you think of what you heard?
On the way up to the horses, I heard Lee Scriven say that both himself and indeed the club were a bit surprised at A, the standard of football on offer in the Championship, and B, the spending power of certain clubs within the Championship, and finally C, it's taken them all by surprise, both of those things. Now, I think that is ludicrous and indeed ridiculous if that's true. Carry on.
That's fair enough. It was... In the first half, I would suggest it was the first time this season that I've looked at us and thought, bloody hell, we're awful.
Really that bad?
The first half really wasn't good, and it's the first time we looked like a team that had lost 5 in a row. And I think for the majority of the games we've played, even when we've been under the cosh, we've looked okay, and we didn't in that
I think
first
perhaps
half.
confidence that just those 5 games got to us.
I think they got to them, definitely. I think that they were really feeling it, and it looked like they didn't feel like they deserved to be there. Well,
Really?
I have a sneaking feeling that's part of...
No
what's
self-belief in any of the players with what they were doing then, I guess.
Yeah, no one was holding on to the ball. They were all getting rid of it as quickly as they could, too much hoofing it, playing
How
it out.
bad were they then? Because my son seemed to think he was there and he said they were terrible.
They were a terrible side, but they were a whole lot better than us in the first half.
Right, okay.
Not that they were great in any way, shape or form. But we were talking about this in the car on the way here. I didn't think they were a great side last season, and they won the league comfortably. So, I think they were a solid side. Yeah. But I don't think they were a particularly good footballing side. They look weaker this year than they did last year.
I mean, to be quite honest with you, just sorry to interrupt, but I only seen them once last year, and I'll only see them once this year, so I don't really know. I mean, I can't really remember them the last year,
Yeah.
They've always been quite peculiar. Like I said, I've only seen them once live ever. When we played them the first time and Sammy Baldock came to Stadium MK and scored a brace, I was at Reading Festival that day, so I missed out on it. I actually genuinely forgot that we were even playing, so it took me until Sunday afternoon to realise, we're playing, what's the score? Seeing the highlights, both looked alright, but that was a season where they weren't very good. Last season, didn't go to the match, but I listened to it on the radio. I can remember that game pretty well, that they weren't actually all that, but they were in a 2-0 lead. We got back to 2-2, and a mistake at the end cost us, again, from Anthony Kay last year.
Very strange, yeah. Anthony Kay, exactly the same end, almost the same position.
And this year again, it didn't sound... I don't think they were that great at Stadium MK when we drew 0-0. It was a very good game of football, but we were all over them, and they certainly didn't look 15 points clear of us, or however many they were that time. So, but they've always been quite peculiar.
They were, very consistent last season.
Much like us.
Yes, well, it's kind of
This season, yeah.
Yes, that's very true.
Consistently inconsistent, I like to say.
Consistently crap at the moment, but
that's one in a broad Bristol accent.
The first half really wasn't good. It was, whether you could turn around and say there was a particular thing, it just felt like across the board, nobody felt comfortable and confident to try and hold on to the ball at all. And when we don't do that, whatever we know about us, we know we've got to play football to get ourselves out of anything, and we weren't doing it.
The thing is, all right, we've not really discussed the second half yet, but the second half was much better. Did you think we were going to score at any point?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Even going into stoppage time, you felt that's a massive possibility.
It just kind of felt it was written. It was really weird. I mean, you know what it's like. We weren't having massive shooting chances, but we were creating chances.
Yeah, the
Church
at
the post again, obviously.
He's got to be the unluckiest guy we've ever had here.
Yeah. It was a bit weird. I mean, it was just beautiful that it was Daniel. You know what it's like?
I love it.
Because
love it.
when he comes on and does something as gorgeous as that, just come on. Almost to a man, people were just shouting, "Confuse them!" And he does. He's great. It was one of those where it felt like a victory. Whenever you score that late, it's always good.
I think even before the game, just to get us out of the rut, I think we would have taken a point.
Point would be great.
And no matter how you get it, wonder goal, tap in, scrappy goal, whether you lose the lead or whatever, I think I'd have taken a point there just to get out of the rut, especially going into an international break. Scuffles and whatnot. There was a few.
There was a kerfuffle. There really was, and I have no
palaver even.
There was
Was it Kyle McFodsan?
It became a palaver. It was what?
Kyle McFodsan was involved.
It was Carl McFosdeen. Yeah. Carl McFosdeen.
We haven't done this in a while, have we?
We're now going to spend the next 38 minutes mispronouncing Carl McFosdeen's name. It was. I didn't see what happened, but there was an immediate sort of ruck with Carl and someone squaring up.
Have you seen the picture?
But yes, with them pulling each other's shirts.
That's a flashback to Gary McKenzie, the Huddersfield game.
Yeah, very much, yeah.
Brilliant. But,
I thought the ref was really weak on it because he carded a couple of ours, I think, and one of theirs. But there was one of theirs, their 21, ran at halfway up the pitch, slammed people in, might have been Carl, I know, but pushed someone really hard in the chest. And he didn't even get talking to, and I just thought that was mean. I thought that was
not very nice.
See, it's funny though, because they weren't there, but the radio commentary was. I can't remember for the life of me who it was. It was talking, probably Fads because he had the geezer by the throat. But
is that allowed or not? I can never remember.
I can't remember.
But he said Carl's going here.
Yeah,
Carl's going, and then he didn't. So was it red card for either? Or would you just say it was yellow? Just let go.
It was no, really not. It just looked like
when you're stuck in a decrepit stand like that,
pushing around. And...
I can't really remember them saying that on the radio, to be quite honest.
You know what, mate? It's probably a game from last year. I don't know.
You're probably listening.
Maybe I'm making something
the
up.
Today programme on Radio 4 or
maybe
something.
I'm starting to turn into my dad.
It's possible.
I know we're going to talk about it later on.
How's next week?
When we're filling in the second half an hour.
Yeah.
But I really honestly think that quite a lot of these players that we're lining up now, within themselves, don't believe that they're good enough for this league. And it's taken the last month for them to realise that. It must be devastating for them to realise that they're basically not good enough,
Yeah.
It's a shame, really.
I mean, but whether that realisation is right or not, we're going to find out.
My biggest disappointment in the team this year has been Carl Baker. I can't... He's a shadow of the player he was last season, isn't he?
He is. I
can't.
I think he is, but I still there's some sort of. It's a bit like the Chadders last season when he was with us before he went out and loan to Cambridge, because he wasn't playing great, but you could see that he was at least trying to be good, trying to pull something out.
It's like as if he's got a mental block that you just think, we know you can do stuff, but why are you not doing it?
The thing is as well is that nobody has been brave enough to say that this season anywhere.
I think he's just playing against tougher defenders. I think he's not doing much different. But
he must look brilliant last season because basically he was better than them.
Yeah.
And this year they're better than him. It could just be simple as that, couldn't it?
I think it's part of it.
Thing is though, he'll still pop up with goals and assists.
Yeah, he will.
I still think he'll pop up with at least 5 goals this season and a couple of assists.
I'll tell you what was impressive, and it wasn't really...
What was impressive?
until I watched the highlights or whatever on YouTube or whatever, and seen how busy it was, because it looked quite busy, didn't it, with them? But on the radio, all you could hear was Milton Keynes screaming their wee heads off. I thought that.
Yeah, that's because they were trying to be violent.
There was a scuffle.
We'll talk about scuffles in the crowd in a sec. I mean, yeah, I thought we were all right. We made a lot of noise. They were awful. They really, rarely piped up. And bearing in mind that they were winning their first game in Christ knows how long against a team they had to beat.
Are they bottom?
They're bottom,
Because we're out the relegation zone.
We're in 19th.
I'm quite pleased with that.
I don't understand the logic that says we
Neither
moved
do I,
up 4 spaces and they stay still. That's great.
It's a draw. It's unbelievable.
It's funny because
It's only a goal difference. Sorry, carry on.
Just talking about the fans and the atmosphere and whatnot. The loudest that I heard them was when Mickey Neymar came on and they booed him.
They did.
That was quite loud.
Yes.
That's his name, by the way, Mickey Neymar.
Did you hear why they were booing him?
Because he didn't want to raise his children. Have you heard this, by the way?
You don't heard why he left.
No.
When he left, he said, when he went to West Ham, he said, I'm glad I'm leaving because I don't want my son growing up with a West Country accent. And I just thought, I don't care how fat you are, Chief. You are now my favourite player of this season. That is exactly the kind of thing I love guys who just say stuff like that. And of course, they're all like, you think, mate, it was a joke, but oh no, they were all baying for his blood, weren't they? I love that guy. I instantly love him now.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, yeah, right. There were kerfuffles in the crowd.
Was there young people involved?
There were young people involved. There were older people involved as well.
Was there really?
Bloody chavs.
The first thing I saw was some guys being
escorted,
about to be escorted by stewards for, I believe, drinking alcohol in the stands. Someone told me they were drinking red wine.
I've heard that. Actually,
was it Modders? Was it?
I heard that. That spoken about, which is funny actually, because one of my mates, was it a couple of years ago when we drew 2-2 there? Sammy scored. I think Ashton it was in the winter anyway. I can't remember. Yeah. It would have been the season before last. And a couple of my mates got thrown out because they took beer into the stand thinking they could drink in it.
Your mates are idiots.
Yeah, definitely. Of course,
just in case there's any doubt or confusion. But.
You can't drink in the view of a football game.
Well, I'm going to do it next Saturday when we play Blackburn. I'm going to take my drink and say I was here a couple of days ago and I was allowed my drink in the stand.
Yeah. I don't know what the actual rules are. Whether you should just confiscate it or confiscate it and be ejected. But
it's a formal ejection.
An idiot, no matter how old you are. If you're old enough to drink, you're old enough to know that you shouldn't be drinking at a football match. If they get chucked out for drinking, see you later, you're idiots, basically.
There were lots. The kerfuffle was building because of the sort of... They seem to be trying to drag people out rather than encourage them out, which
what are they doing? Come on then, this way, come on.
But that's it, come on. Here's a trail of breadcrumbs or something.
He stood up, that boy.
What are you standing up for?
I thought he was going for the Jaffa cakes.
I thought he was going for the scissors, about to just decimate us all in a horrendous MooCamp bloodbath.
Making notes.
Yeah, there were loads of other bits and pieces, but right at the end there were other people being dragged out, and there was certainly an unpleasant standoff outside the ground. They seemed to have it wasn't a well organised exit because they forced us essentially round into a very tight corner where a few of our little roister-doisterers were standing off against a few of their roister-doisterers.
That's our new firm name.
Yeah.
The MK roister-doisters.
The MK roister-doisters.
You have just met the MK roister-doisters. Laying little cards on their heads as they walk away.
When you've been roisted.
Yeah. Indeed, doistered.
You've just been roisted.
Okay, look, we might talk about that later on, but probably not. I think it's time to move on.
Okay, we're moving on. Coming up next, we're going to be taking even a look at the season so far, reminiscing about glorious times, reliving the many, many goals, and remembering when we were top of the league. We'll also play Spot the Ball, and remember, say what you see or hear, to be more precise. We'll get the joy that can only come from repeatedly insulting ourselves in Franchise Watch. Personally, I cannot wait.
Hurrah.
This just in, following the record attendances at Stadium :MK for the visit of the men with the rubbish-shaped balls. That's horrible. Can't believe I just said that. Think about it. Anyway, moving on. Club Supremo Andrew Call Me Andy Cullen has just come up with a fantastic new way of maximising revenue. Speaking to an assortment of rugby, football and local media representatives, Andy explained that they weren't going to bother with the football anymore and would further concentrate solely on the rugby. More on this once we've come up with a reason why that's not a remarkably sensible idea.